Napalm, flamethrowers, chemical warfare. We think these are inventions of the modern age. We are wrong. Over 1,300 years ago, long before the first gun was ever fired, one empire possessed a weapon so advanced it defies explanation. It was a liquid death that could burn iron, stone, and even flesh. But its most terrifying property? It could burn on water. They called it sea fire. It saved the Christian world from destruction. It extended the life of an empire for centuries. And the recipe was so secret that when the empire fell, the knowledge vanished from the face of the earth. Today, science still cannot fully replicate it. This is the story of history's greatest lost technology. Welcome to the mystery of Greek fire. The year is 674 AD. The world is holding its breath. The great Roman Empire, now the Byzantine Empire, is dying. Look at the horizon. That is not a storm approaching. That is the end of the world. The massive fleet of the Umayyad Caliphate, thousands of ships carrying an army that has never known defeat, has arrived at the Golden Horn. Their goal is simple: to burn Constantinople to the ground, to breach the final walls of Christendom, and to rewrite the history of the world. Inside the city, there is silence, a heavy, suffocating silence. The Emperor Constantine IV looks out from his palace. He knows his army is outnumbered. He knows his walls, though strong, cannot stand forever against such a tide. The prayers in the Hagia Sophia are desperate. They are praying for a miracle, but God seems silent. To the Arab commanders on those ships, victory is inevitable. They mock the defenders. They wait for the wind to carry them forward, ready to claim the jewel of the world. They do not know that they are sailing into a trap. They do not know that the water beneath them is about to burn. As the massive Arab galleys close in, the Byzantine navy deploys a small, strange squadron of ships. They are fast, agile, but they look pathetic compared to the floating fortresses of the enemy. The Arab sailors laugh. Is this the best Rome has left? But then a sound tears through the air. Not the twang of bowstrings, nor the clash of swords. It is a roar, like thunder trapped inside a bronze tube. From the prows of the Byzantine ships, distinct figureheads shaped like lions and dragons open their mouths, and out of them spews a liquid nightmare. A jet of fire projected with impossible force arcs across the water. It hits the lead Arab ships. Panic. Instant panic. Wood catches fire instantly. Sails turn into sheets of flame. But this is no ordinary fire. The sailors do what any sailor would do. They use water to douse the flames, and that is their fatal mistake. Imagine the horror. You throw water on the fire, and the fire grows. It feeds on the water. It clings to everything it touches, the rigging, the wood, the flesh. It is sticky, like napalm 1,000 years before its time. Men jump into the sea to escape the burning decks, only to find that the sea itself is on fire. The Greek fire, or as the Byzantines called it, sea fire, floats on the surface, turning the Bosphorus into a boiling cauldron of death. The mighty Arab fleet, organized and disciplined just moments ago, breaks into chaos. Ships crash into one another, trying to escape the dragon's breath. The smoke turns day into night. The smell of burning pitch and sulfur fills the lungs of the survivors. In the distance, on the walls of Constantinople, the defenders stop praying. They watch in awe. They are witnessing a technology so advanced, so terrifying, that it defies logic. It looks like sorcery. It looks like the wrath of God himself has descended to protect the city. The siege was broken. The unstoppable army was stopped not by courage, nor by steel, but by chemistry. For the next 7 years, every time the Arab fleet tried to approach, the fire ships would emerge, and the result was always the same: destruction. By the end of the siege, the lesson was carved into the minds of the enemy. Do not touch Constantinople. It is guarded by hellfire. But as the smoke cleared, a new question arose, a question that was whispered in the corridors of power, from Rome to Damascus, from the Caliph to the Emperor. What is it? It wasn't magic, it wasn't a miracle, it was science. Engineered, refined, and weaponized by a single mind, a refugee named Callinicus. But how did he create it? And more importantly, how did the Byzantine Empire keep the recipe a secret for 500 years, only for it to vanish without a trace? To understand the weapon, we must first understand the desperate mind that created it. To understand the weapon, we have to go back to the man. History often forgets the inventors, remembering only the kings who used their inventions. But without a man named Callinicus, the Byzantine Empire would have been erased from history books in the 7th century. Callinicus was not a general, he was an architect and a chemist, an alchemist from Heliopolis in Syria. At that time, Syria had already fallen to the Arab conquest. Callinicus had seen firsthand the unstoppable power of the Caliphate's armies. He saw his home destroyed, his culture threatened. Fleeing the occupation, he made a perilous journey to Constantinople. He arrived not with an army, not with treasure, but with something far more valuable: a formula. Legend says he approached Emperor Constantine IV with a promise: "I can burn the sea." The emperor, desperate and out of options, gave him the resources of the imperial workshops. Callinicus didn't just mix chemicals, he engineered a complete weapon system. What makes Greek fire distinct from any incendiary weapon before it? The ancients had used fire arrows, boiling oil, and pitch pots for centuries, but Greek fire was different. It was the world's first hydro weapon. Modern analysis suggests it wasn't just a liquid poured over the side of a ship, it was a projectile. The system required a mechanism called a siphon. Below the deck of the Byzantine warship, a specialized furnace heated a cauldron of the volatile mixture. Using a system of bellows and pumps, they pressurized the heated liquid. When the valve was opened, the liquid was forced through a bronze tube mounted on the prow. Think about the engineering challenge here. You are heating a highly flammable liquid inside a wooden ship in the middle of a battle. One mistake, one leak, and you blow yourself up. The Byzantine engineers who operated these siphons were not just soldiers, they were highly trained technicians operating a pressurized bomb. When ejected, the liquid likely passed through a flame source at the nozzle, igniting instantly. Or, even more terrifying, some historians believe the chemical reaction was hypergolic, meaning it ignited upon contact with the air or water without needing a spark. So what was it? For over 1,000 years, spies, alchemists, and modern scientists have tried to reverse engineer the formula. We have theories, but no certainty. The primary ingredient was almost certainly naphtha, a type of crude oil or petroleum harvested from surface wells in the Crimea region. This gave the fire its sticky, liquid base. But crude oil doesn't ignite on contact with water. This leads to the quicklime theory. Quicklime, calcium oxide, creates immense heat when mixed with water. Did Callinicus discover that by mixing quicklime with petroleum, he could create a substance that used the enemy's water to trigger the ignition? Then there was the stickiness. Chroniclers wrote that the fire clung to flesh and wood like a living parasite. This suggests the addition of pine resin or animal fat, thickening the mixture into a primitive napalm jelly. It meant you couldn't wipe it off. If you jumped into the sea, it burned on top of you. It was a masterpiece of chemistry. But the formula was only half the secret. The Byzantines realized quickly that this weapon was too dangerous to lose. If the Arabs, the Bulgarians, or the Vikings got hold of it, Constantinople would be doomed. So they created the world's first system of compartmentalization. The recipe was split. The people who harvested the oil didn't know how to refine it. The refiners didn't know the mixture ratios. The technicians who operated the siphons didn't know how to build them. Only the emperor and a select few knew the whole truth. Emperor Constantine VII, writing to his son centuries later, codified this secrecy into religious law. He declared that the formula was given to the first Christian emperor by an angel of the Lord. He wrote, "If anyone dares to ask you for this secret, you must refuse. It is forbidden. Any who betray this trust shall be cursed, removed from the church, and stripped of their rank." They turned technology into theology. To reveal the secret was not just treason, it was heresy. And it worked. For 500 years, despite capturing Byzantine ships and even capturing engineers, no enemy ever successfully replicated the weapon. But secrets have a lifespan. The extreme secrecy that protected Greek fire ultimately killed it. By the 13th century, the Byzantine Empire began to fracture. Civil wars, corruption, and the disastrous Fourth Crusade in 1204 shattered the chain of command. The compartmentalized knowledge was broken. The family of Callinicus was gone. The specific workshops were destroyed. When the Crusaders sacked the city, they found the bronze lions, the siphons, and the jars of liquid. But they didn't know how to use them together. They didn't have the software to run the hardware. The secret didn't travel to the west. It didn't travel to the east. It simply died. It evaporated like the volatile chemicals it was made of. When Constantinople finally fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, the defenders looked to the sea, hoping for the fireships to save them one last time. But the sea remained dark. The dragon had lost its breath. There is a cruel irony in the history of warfare. Just as Greek fire disappeared into the shadows, a new monster emerged from the east, gunpowder. When Constantinople fell in 1453, the walls were not breached by liquid fire, but by giant stone balls fired from massive cannons. The era of the alchemist was over. The era of the engineer had begun. Greek fire became a myth. For centuries, historians argued if it ever truly existed. Some said it was just exaggerated poetry. Others thought it was simple oil. But the descriptions, burning on water, sticky fire, pressurized siphons, were too consistent to be fiction. It stands as a ghostly monument to lost technology. We like to think that human progress is a straight line, always moving up. We assume that once we invent something, we keep it forever. Greek fire proves us wrong. We can go backward. We can forget. In the 20th century, we finally created something close to it: napalm. But even napalm isn't quite the same. Napalm requires a complex ignition system. The ancient texts suggest Greek fire was chemically superior in its ignition, possibly reacting to the very water it floated on. Think about that. A refugee in the 7th century, mixing chemicals in a clay pot, created a substance that modern chemistry still struggles to perfectly replicate. Why can't we solve it? Because technology is not just about ingredients, it's about process. It's about the specific temperature of the boil, the precise timing of the mix, the exact pressure of the pump. This is tacit knowledge, knowledge that isn't written down but felt in the hands of the master. When the master dies, the knowledge dies with him. Here lies the ultimate lesson of Greek fire. It is the paradox of secrecy. The Byzantine Empire did everything right to protect their intellectual property. They compartmentalized, they legislated, they theologized. They successfully kept the weapon out of the hands of their enemies for 500 years. That is an incredible achievement in counterintelligence. But by making the circle of knowledge too small, they doomed the technology to extinction. In our modern world, we see this same dynamic. Companies lock their algorithms in black boxes. Governments classify their most advanced research. We build walled gardens of proprietary technology. We assume that secrecy means safety. But Greek fire teaches us that secrecy is a double-edged sword. Extreme security creates a single point of failure. If only 3 people know the code, and those 3 people die in a plane crash, the code is gone. Greek fire saved an empire, but it couldn't save itself. It reminds us that civilization is fragile. Our knowledge is not etched in stone, it is stored on fragile hard drives and in the fleeting memories of experts. How many breakthroughs are locked away in secret vaults right now? How many cures, how many energy solutions are hidden behind non-disclosure agreements, waiting to be lost if the wrong company goes bankrupt or the wrong server crashes? The flame that burned on the water is gone, but the warning it left behind is still burning bright. True power isn't just about creating a weapon, it's about preserving the knowledge for the future. The story of Greek fire is not just a tale of a lost weapon, it is a cautionary tale about the high cost of silence. In our desperate attempt to own the truth, we often end up burying it. We build walls so high that even those meant to carry the flame can no longer reach it. Look around you. In an era where everything is recorded, our most vital secrets are more fragile than ever, locked inside black boxes of corporate greed and classified servers. If a master's touch was all that kept the flame alive in the 7th century, what is the single point of failure in our world today? History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Perhaps the next great breakthrough is already sitting in a secret vault, waiting for a master who will never come. What else have we forgotten in the name of security?